Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. How is everyone doing today? How is everyone doing today? This is Gregory Wiles with his inspirational morning walk. This is Gregory Wiles with his inspirational morning walk coming live for you from Houston, Texas. First time listeners, I just get an exercise in the morning, I do some walking, and I just share my thoughts with you guys. Whatever I'm inspired to talk about that day, I will share with you guys. Hope it's a great day wherever you are. It's a blessed day here. We're right in the mid 50s. Nice and cool that I can get my walking done today. So good morning to you wherever you are, whichever part of the world you are. Hope this little talk today blesses you. Hope it blesses you, man. Hope everyone is having a great day. Anyhow, I can get into it a little early today. I can get into it a little early because I want to make sure I cover everything that is on my mind. I want to make sure I spend most of the time talking about what I want to talk about today. But what I want to talk about today is the anointing. Good morning, Tessa. Good morning. How are you? I want to talk about today is the anointing of God. The anointing of God. Man can appoint, but only God anoint. Only God anoint. So let's explain quickly what anointing means from a biblical perspective. From a biblical perspective, anointing is the burden removing and yoke breaking power of God. So here he can remove a burden that's on you, right? He's saying, and the yoke breaking power of God. So anointing is what empowers a man or a woman to function supernaturally. It empowers a man or a woman to function supernaturally. Anointing is that which enables you to do supernatural things. That's right. It enables you to do supernatural things. And we're going to get into a case in the Bible where a young man was anointed. A young man was anointed. So let me get into this reading quick and then we will talk about it, right? It's First Samuel 16, I can read from, but 6 through 13. It's First Samuel 16, 6 through 13, I can read from. This is a story. Let me give you a little quick explanation before what happened before we get into this, right? This is when Saul was the first king of Israel, and then he started not listening to God, doing his own thing. So God got fed up with him and said, you know what, I've done with you, Saul. I'm going to appoint somebody else king over Israel. So he tells Samuel, who was his main prophet at the time, he said, go down to a man and find in Bethlehem there. His name is Jesse, and I'm going to appoint someone from Jesse's house to be the next king because I had enough of Saul. He's not listening to me. He's doing his own thing. So I'm going to appoint the next king, right? So this when Samuel went to Jesse's house. So we pick it up from 6, right? So when they arrived, Samuel took one of Eliab. Samuel took one look at Eliab and thought, surely this is the Lord. This is one of the guys, Jesse's son, if I can get the pronunciation right. Forgive me for that, right? So he took one look at him and thought, surely this is the Lord anointed. So Samuel just looked at this young man, how impressive he looked, and said, okay, this got to be the one the Lord anoint. But here what the Lord said. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart, guys. Jillian, good morning. So we make a lot of these mistakes. You see what the God saying? We don't judge by outward appearance. Man judge by that. But he's saying you're looking at your heart. So a lot of times we overlook people because we're looking at how they're looking right now. And God said, no, I don't care how they're looking right now. Where I want to take them, I can clean them up and polish them and get them where I need to go. Don't just look at how impressive they look. I'm looking at their heart, right? So let's move on to verse 8. This is 1 Samuel 16, 6 through 13. So 8 said, then Jesse told his son Abinadab to step forward and walk in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, this is not the one the Lord has chosen. Next, Jesse summoned Shemaiah. But Samuel said, neither is this the one the Lord has chosen. In the same way, all 7 of Jesse's sons were presented to Samuel. But Samuel said to Jesse, the Lord has not chosen any of these. Then Samuel asked, are these all your sons you have? Because all these young men, very impressive young men, come in front of him, and he said, nope, that's not what the Lord chooses. He said, man, do you have any other children? Because the Lord told me come to this house, and he can make someone in your house king. And I know the Lord don't make mistake, right? Well, how much of us do the same thing? So then, and this is going on now. The father said, there is still the youngest, Jesse replied, but he's out in the field watching the sheep and goats. It's like he can't be the one, man. He's just the little one watching the sheep and the goat. It can't be him, man. You got to make a mistake. And, the father saying, it can't be him. We got one more, but he's out watching the sheep and the goat. He's not going to amount to nothing much. And then Samuel said, send for him at once. Samuel said, we will not sit down to eat until he arrives. So Jesse sent for him. He was dark and handsome with beautiful eyes. And the Lord said, this is the one, anoint him, right? This is the one, anoint him. So as David stood there among his brothers, Samuel took the flask of olive oil he had brought and anoint David with the oil, right? So you see, guys, the anointing of the Lord, it doesn't matter how impressive you're looking right now, what a person, right? You might have a child right now that's giving you trouble, not doing what it just, but you don't know if they're anointed and what they're anointed to do. So don't make this mistake like Jesse and overlook anyone. Don't matter if the person's a prostitute right now. Don't matter if they're selling drugs. You do not matter if they're hooked on the drugs. Do not overlook anyone. Do not think you're better than no one. You do not know who the Lord will appoint. It's not how they look right now. You see what God's saying? Don't look at the outward appearance. I'm looking at their heart. I'm looking at their heart, and I'm going to anoint them to do great things. So do not overlook anyone right now. Do not overlook anyone right now. We don't know what's the anointing is on their life. We don't know. Sometimes you went to school with someone, and this person is nothing in school. And all of a sudden you look right now as you guys grown, and this person amount to something great. It's the anointing. And someone might look at you, or you might look at someone and just see something in them that you cannot explain. That thing happened to a lot of times as leaders, right? You're a leader wherever you are in your organization or whatever, and you might go somewhere else and you're like, you know what, I want to fly under the radar here. I don't want no responsibility. I'm going to this little conference or so. I can just sit in the back seat and just enjoy myself because I don't. And all of a sudden people point you out, don't know nothing about you, and they point you out as the leader. Then you have to get a leader of a group or something and say, oh yeah, I point. It's like, man, I just come here to just fly under the radar. But people see that in you already, right? It's that anointing when it's on you. Okay? And what I want to put out here, when David get to be anointed king, he was this little shepherd guy running around looking at the sheep. Even his father overlooked him. Right? But it took about between 13 and 15 years. He was anointed when he was a teenager, but it still took about 13 or 15 years for him to get to the throne, right? So I'm saying, somebody could be anointed right now when they're not doing what they're supposed to do, but that doesn't mean the anointing is not on them, right? That doesn't mean. So a lot of us are anointed. A lot of us, things coming on our heart to do, start the little group. Sean Spencer, thank you. Start the little group. Start the little women's group. Start the little men's group. Go and give your time here. Mentor some little kid. All of these things, you are anointed to do certain things. And you see, the thing is with the anointing, where it's a serious thing, right? When you get anointing to do something, there's lots of people. Remember, the anointing is not for you. It's just like your gifts. It's not for you. It's to do the work. A lot of people out there is waiting on you to walk into your anointing because they're waiting on you to get to where they need to go because you are their connection. You are their connection. The anointing that you have, they're waiting on it to get to where they need to go. So if you don't walk in your anointing, you are responsible for a lot of souls out there not reaching where they need to go, right? So some of us might be old, up in age, over 50, 60, 70. You're saying, man, my time is done. No, you're not done. The anointing probably still on you to do what you need to do. And God said, when you come into the anointing, and when you decide to do what you need to do, he said in Joel 2:25, you could look at it, he said, I'll restore all those years unto you. I'll restore those years unto you. I'll give you back what you have lost to the swarming locust, the hopping locust, the stripping locust, and the cutting locust. He's saying all the stuff of the enemy take away from you, all the stuff that you didn't do. He said, I'll restore that to you. So you're not too late. Once you have life, he's not done with you. So you're not too old. So go ahead. Walk into that anointing, right? And you see David go up against Goliath, the big giant where everybody was running from and scared. And he was a boy. He was a teenager. He was a boy. But he had the anointing in him. And I like what he told Goliath. He said, you coming up against me with all these spears and all that, but I coming up against you with the Lord. It's the Lord fighting this battle for me. So when you got the anointing on you, you have his support. You have his support, guys. So I want to say, a lot of us have the anointing on us to do great things. We need to walk into the anointing, right? And it might take some time. It might take some time. Just like David had to wait between 13 and 15 years to get on the throne. He was a little boy. He had to go through all his training and all of that. But that doesn't say the anointing is not on you. And the little kid, your little child that's running around right now, not doing what you're supposed to do. What if you, like Jesse, some prophet come up to you and tell you your child, the same one who giving you trouble right now, the same one who not doing good in school, that same one, and he come up and said, this is going to be the next president of the United States or president of whichever country you living in. And you looking like, that one was just out in the yard just giving me trouble? But remember, God said, I'm looking at the outward appearance. I'm looking at the heart. I can work with them once they got a good heart. How much of us will be like Jesse right now and overlook that child if someone come up to you and said, this child is going to do great things? And you like, not the one who just giving me all this trouble. It can't be. God got to make a mistake. No.